Okay, YouTubers, this is your guy, Mr. Evaluator, and I'm just gonna literally expose the dumbfoundedness in some of the YouTubers, and this guy's one of them. Okay, so on my video, I was pretty much talking about how to basically, well, actually taking things out of the content. So when you take stuff out of the content, your boss gives you an order to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich. And for the customer, you go in the kitchen, make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, then you cut the edges off, right? Now you serve the customer what they didn't basically order for. Yeah, they got the peanut butter jelly sandwich, but you cut the edges off. They didn't ask for that. What is that called? You took it out of the context. You took what your boss told you out of the context, applied your own analogy. So therefore, you serve them a misinformative recipe. Okay, now that we got that point in there, this guy had literally said that the omniverse is not a tier. So if it's not a tier, it shouldn't even be concerned. It shouldn't concern anything in the comic book universe, period, if it's not a tier. For those of you who don't know what a tier is pretty much like a scale, the scale a character basically goes to, especially if you're going to literally like scale the inside of power. Like, so if you're going to say that, somebody could destroy an entire universe, or like, I see the way they do it, but somebody could basically destroy an entire universe, then they pretty much meet the tier of destroying an entire planet, or they meet the tier of destroying an entire solar system, or destroying an entire universe, or you got the city level. I'm just saying, you got a city level tier. Like, some people that's strong enough to wipe out a city block. So you got some bombs like the dirty bomb. It kind of, the dirt bomb could pretty much destroy an entire city. They even got bombs out there that could pretty much blow up a whole country. So that bomb pretty much meets the tier of destroying an entire country. So I okay, so forget about that. Like, the bomb could just meet to destroying an entire country. So just getting to the point, just gonna show you the dumbfoundedness in this guy. He just said that Omniverse isn't a tier, okay? And so I'm just gonna swipe over. That means the point that I was literally trying to make with Trigon using the Omniverse, which is not a tier, is void and pointless. Why? Because it's not a tier. Let's swipe over. And now this guy turned it around and literally said Omniversal is a lowball for most characters you reference here. Okay? It does not make no sense. If Omniversal is not a tier, okay? If it's not a tier, then it shouldn't be a lowball for anybody concerning the DC, Marvel, or Dragon Ball Z universe. Why? Because it is not a tier. Are you meaning to tell me that Omniverse is only a tier in certain comic books? Okay, because he just last wrote a comment saying that an omniverse means the ground level the character pretty much stands on. Okay, that's what omniverse means. But this guy said all the way back up to the comment that it isn't a tier. So if it's not a tier, then why is it defined? What you just said, why is it defined as the character? Why is it defined as the character standing on a ground? I'm not saying literally standing on the ground. At what grounds the character basically stands on? Like, are you kidding me? You said, he just literally said that Omniverse is not a tier. But now, like in a lower comment, he just said that it defines on what ground the character pretty much stands on. And the Omniverse pretty much concerns every character in the universe. But he just said it's not a tier. So if it's not a tier, it shouldn't even have a definition, and it shouldn't be a scale of power. So if it's not a tier, okay, so what he should have said was, it's not a scale of power. In a sense, it's not a scale of power, then it just shouldn't be a scale of power. You shouldn't make a reference to it because it actually means the ground basis of the character. But he didn't say that in the beginning. He literally said that omniversal is a lowball for most characters I mentioned in the universe. So back to what he said in the previous comment, he was like, it just pretty much defines what ground they pretty much stand on. But he said it's not a tier. So if it's not a tier, then the point that I made with Trigon, literally, the point that I literally made with Trigon is void and pointless. And what he also said that is referencing what I've referenced is void and pointless. Two wrongs cannot make a right. Okay? Two wrongs does not make a right. Okay? So, this guy, and I basically was just telling him that if it's not a tier, then the example I made of the omniverse and the example you made of being omniversal is just literally pointless and void. I said that Trigon having that capability is beyond the entire omniverse. So he is literally omniversal, but he just said that omniversal isn't a tier. So he said if it was a tier, right? Which him also confirming that it's not a tier, because he said if it was a tier, Trigon will literally be under it. He will literally, it wouldn't even put him past the source wall, right? And on the lower comment, he just confirmed, right, that, let me see. He literally just confirmed that Omniverse basically describes what ground the character stands on. And he just said that Omniverse isn't a tier. And now he's saying that it is defined by what grounds the character literally stands on. But he said if Omniversal was a tier, then Trigon will be underneath it. So that literally saying what he said literally told me that Omniverse is not a tier. And what he just said was pointless and void. So now all of a sudden, he's now saying that Omniverse means what grounds the character stand on, what type of ground the character stands on. But he never said that in the beginning. He just said it wasn't a tier, and if it was a tier, then Trigon will be underneath it. So when he said Trigon will be underneath it, it literally confirms to show you that this guy is either confused, he doesn't know what the Omniverse is, he doesn't know if it's actually a tier in power scaling or it's not a tier in the actual comic book universe. And he literally said that I like confused that with cosmology or something, whatever that word is. I don't know what that is, but he literally said it's like I'm confusing that with cosmology, right? And I literally just gave a reference to an omniversal means like I just said that omniversal is the top of the tier, right? It's the top of the tier in the power scaling community, and he just confirmed that it's not. And he also said behind that, if he was, he will be underneath it, okay? But he's not, because it's not a tier. So therefore, what he said is void and pointless, and what I reference is void and pointless because it is not a tier. And this is irrefutable proof of what this guy actually is, okay? And then he turned around and said, I didn't misunderstand anything. He said, Omniversal isn't a tier, okay? He said it again. Omniversal isn't a tier, but even if you use it as one, this tier doesn't even get out of the source wall. So even if it is a tier, right, when it's not, he wouldn't even got out of the source wall. But he later confirmed down and said that omniversal means what grounds Trigon literally stands on. And he said this tier that isn't a tier, right? Follow me, guys. He said that this omniversal is not a tier, but it is defined by what grounds the character stands on. So he literally just said that if Trigon was omniversal, he will be underneath it. So since omniversal isn't a tier, then Trigon is not underneath it. He is literally not underneath it because omniversal isn't a tier. It literally isn't a tier. It just only defines and what grounds he stand on. And so I'm gonna interpretate that as defining what ground the character pretty much stands on is what type of capability he has. Again, common basis, primal source of the power. What capability he pretty much has that will allow him to incline and pretty much grow and expand in the power scaling community. In the power scaling, yeah, in a power scaling community. Okay, so this guy said that I don't know how to power scale, and evidently, this guy said Omniverse isn't a tier, but since it's not a tier, and if it was a tier, he'd be underneath it. But then again, he's saying that Omniverse is defined by what grounds the character pretty much stands on. It concerns everybody in the universe, in that comic book universe. But it isn't a tier. To be a literal tier is to basically concern the scale of power. And so he said Omniverse isn't a tier, but it defines what grounds the character literally stands on. So either I say again, this guy's confused, he doesn't know what he's talking about, and if he knew what he was talking about, then what he said at the ending comment, he should have said in the beginning. So that literally goes to show you this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And I also asked him about so just to test how much he knew, I said Saitama versus Nomu from My Hero Academia, but Nomu's power is equally drawn with Saitama. And he said, I don't even watch that show. That show sucks and it is really stupid. So that goes to really basically show you guys, YouTubers, that if you're gonna join the debate team and like be a part of the anime community, bro, I don't care if you look, bro. I do not like Hellsing. Okay, I don't like Hellsing. Period. I don't even watch Hellsing, right? But for the sake of actually putting him in battles, I read about this guy and I see a little bit of what this guy literally does. He's literally a vampire that can't be killed by no monsters but other human beings. Like if you're a human, then you can pretty much kill him. Because only a human could kill, only a human could kill him. If you're not human, you're not going to be able to kill him. Dante, however, is a different story. But again, that's another topic to talk about. But this basically goes to show you that some of these YouTubers have no idea what they're talking about. So if Omniversal isn't a tier, then nor should it be anything that has anything to do with any character. It shouldn't have anything to do with what grounds they stand on. It shouldn't have anything to do with concerning anything in the comic book universe, period, if it isn't a tier. A tier is basically, well, specifically in the power scaling community, is basically a scale of power, or what level of, pretty much what level of power they basically go to. And I'm just going to look at Google to try to even confirm that. So if you guys like what I say, if you guys can understand, no, screw it. If you guys can literally understand what I'm talking about, then you could actually see the noob and the buffoonery that's literally on YouTube. So if you're going to be a part of any of the debate community, any of the anime universe, it is known that you have to literally understand and get into every character possible. Every anime that literally comes out, Attack on Titans, from Attack on Titan all the way to freaking Dragon Ball Z. And if you can't do that, then that's proof. It goes to show you that you only go with your fan pick favorites, characters, and you scale their power in which you define as overhyping. Like you are known, like people that only pick the characters to power scale and don't watch shows to understand other characters is really not much of a fan of anime. They don't know what they're talking about, and if they do wind up going in a debate, they wind up overhyping one character than the other. So, and this is facts, bro. And it always happens. It literally happens. So, have any questions, comments? This is open to anybody available. This is Mr. Evaluator.